B'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Holy One, for giving us the mitzvah of learning and living words of Torah. So Shabbat Shalom again. I'm always so happy to be here, and I'm happy that I'm here this consecutively last week and this week as well. And that's how the Torah is written. So it's a continuation. We had last week Parashat Mishpatim, and this week we have Parashat Toma. I'm going to share my screen just in a second. And so there are so many different, kind of teachings of what is Judaism really. Some people say Judaism is in like observance of mitzvot and all the details and everything. And we can find here that it's also a space that we create that, it's not Judaism, but it's also the God and holiness and dwelling. So the book of Exodus, as we know, is now interrupted. We have interrupted the narrative that we had. Of course, the narrative was being in Egypt, the story of slavery, and now, crossing of the sea. That the redemption is still going on. The first one was the physical redemption, taking the children of Israel out of Egypt. And we had the second redemption, which was the revelation at Sinai, which was now about 2 Shabbatot ago. And then we had a continuation of more rules and things we are supposed to do as a people, so that we can gather ourselves. This is going to define us. And now we have this kind of building of the Mishkan, which is a tiny place. It's not grand. It's a tiny place that God is supposed to dwell among us. And so one of my favorite things to do on Parashat Toma is watch this video, and I'm going to play it for you as well. So I will go back and share with volume because I believe I did not do that. But the video talks a lot about material kind of culture and possessions and what we do with our gold and silver. But for me, that is also important. But for me, there's so many details that I get lost. I don't know what is what, where the gold goes and where the silver goes, and the whole thing about. I think if you're an engineer, probably you understand this well. Somebody who understands more about constructions and stuff, you understand the Mishkan much better. But this has like a simpler kind of explanation. I'm sharing with sound of what the Mishkan is supposed to be. All right. Let me know if you can hear it.
Reading Parsha Truma is like reading a furniture assembly manual in the original Swedish. It contains very technical instructions on how to construct God's sanctuary, and unless you took woodshop in elementary school, it can get confusing. The Parsha begins with the Jewish people encamped in the middle of the desert. Moses goes up Mount Sinai, and God instructs Moses on a number of things. First, the Jewish people are to give gifts of gold, silver, exotic linens, and jewels. With those exotic materials, they are to build a holy sanctuary. And Moses stood there on Mount Sinai, and God instructed him further, saying, some assembly required. So check out the overall layout. Build an ark of gold with 2 cherubs on top. Add a menorah, mini altar, and offering table, all in gold. Place these in a house called the Mishkan, aka Divine Dwelling Place, aka Tabernacle, out of wood and silver, and covered in expensive fabric. Zoom out to the sacrificial altar and utensils, all made in copper. Add a huge outer perimeter made of linen curtains between large wood posts. Now let's zoom in to the complicated part of this project, the Mishkan, aka Dwelling Place, aka Tabernacle. Besides the pyramids, this is the most solid building the Jewish people have made in a while. And this building was going to have to be portable. And not portable like iPod portable, more like 10 guys on either side lifting each piece on rods through the desert portable. To make a wall, they line up large planks of acacia wood and connect them with larger-than-life versions of those little wood pegs you use when assembling a bedroom set from IKEA or Target. But oops, we have a problem, because even though you've aligned the planks, they'll still move around like a slinky in the event of a sandstorm earthquake, or any other unforeseen act of God, which, as we've seen, the Israelites are getting used to. To solve this, they push long rods through the entire wall, preventing this slinky effect. Now we've got everything aligned, but the planks can still pull apart, so each plank has tenons on the top and bottom. Tenons are basically wooden fingers extending from the ends of each plank. To secure one plank to the next, they place huge solid silver rings over adjoining tenons, locking them together. This technique not only makes for a secure wall, but also for a beautiful silver foundation and crown. And God said to Moses, "Form follows function." Now that this ready-to-assemble dwelling place of the Lord is put together, zoom out. Inside, everything is gold, then silver, and then copper as you reach the outside. The Torah is not being very subtle with the symbolism here. The most precious thing the Jewish people have is God's presence. How do you house and keep the things that are most precious to you? In 2 weeks, the Torah flashes back to the story of the golden calf, when the Israelites built an idol out of gold and precious jewelry. The Jewish people took many precious things with them out of Egypt, and the first thing they did with them was to build a false idol to worship. Does this mean that gold, jewels, and beautiful, luxurious things are evil? Not quite. In this parsha, the Jewish people take those exact same materials and build an ark, a menorah, a mishkan. They use the very same materials to house and protect the deepest, most precious things we have. Just as the Israelites took many valuable things on their journey, during our lifetime, we also take with us many wonderful things, both physical and spiritual. It is up to us to decide how to treat what is most valuable. We have the choice to build either a golden calf or a mishkan.
Thank you. Oh, I see.
Picture, he can show it now.
Oh, wonderful. So we have a picture, and Larry can say a little bit more. I love this wonderful explanation. So we all understand the Mishkan right now, right? AKA dwelling place, AKA whatever it is. So Larry, would you explain what this is?
So this is I'm doing a series each week on my visualization of the Parsha. I'm calling these visual midrashes. And in this, I didn't, there's certainly a lot of symbolism here with the jewels. And if you look underneath what I envision the Mishkan to look like, there are those the blue boxes that were in many of our homes as kids that you would put we used to call it a pushka, and you would put pennies and nickels, and this little old man would come around once a month or something like that and collect the money. So that's what I was thinking of.
Thank you. I'm going to pose the same question to anybody. How do you envision a Mishkan to be? Like if you were given this task of building a dwelling place for God, what would it look like for you? Naomi, we have the microphone.
I actually have a question. I didn't understand even when I read it, the Mishkan in the story here is so small that there is actually nobody can actually. The Mishkan in this movie, the thing with all the tent, the beautiful tent, seems very small. So I don't understand who can actually get there. Only the priest. And when they're talking about the other measurement, it's only the walls around the Mishkan. That's where the people are, because they don't show any person next to the holy object. So I didn't really understand how do anybody get there.
So the Mishkan is different from a synagogue. It's different even from the Beit HaMikdash as we know it. It's only Moses who accesses the Holy of Holies. So there's a place that's beyond the tables that are the menorah and the table of incense, far to I don't know what side. There's the Holy of Holies, which is going to be the place where God is supposed to reside. And this place, but before that, there is the ark of the Torahs, where the Torahs are going to be deposited. So this is small, but it's not for everybody. All the Israelites are not supposed to be in this place, to go in this place. It's only for Moses to meet with God and to dwell there. And also the Kohanim are supposed to come in there to offer sacrifices, but beyond that place, the Holy of Holies.
So well, the reason I'm asking is that part of the whole description, especially at the end, it tells us that it has to be, this wall has to face east, this wall has to face north, this has to face south and west. So it means that it's supposed to be a permanent place. So this whole story doesn't really, I cannot really understand. I mean, we get it right in the desert, and it has to face this specific direction. How can it face specific direction when we are moving all the time? It doesn't make sense. So a lot of other things don't make sense, but this is very specific thing that I don't understand.
There's so much that I don't understand either about the Mishkan, and I think that's the whole point. But I think if in terms of facing, like, you can move it because they are going to carry it, and it's big, as you can see, because they have representatives of all the tribes positioned on different sides to lift this thing. It's not light; it's a big thing, and so I think that in terms of, they can position it for maybe the Holy of Holies to face east or whatever it is. There's a lot of math and calculations going on here. Sherry, and then we can pass around.
Shelley Aber. So not so much what did the Mishkan look like, but it's making me think about the fact that if people are enslaved, if they're in abject poverty, if they're oppressed, they probably have very little aesthetic beauty in their lives. They might have the beauty in an abstract way in love and relationships, but part of the human experience and human need, I think, is experience of beauty. And so by creating the Mishkan with all of these beautiful materials, regardless of whether we literally think they had them or they didn't have them, or did they get them from the Egyptians, but it's the idea of bringing to an enslaved people an experience of aesthetic beauty into their life and into their worship.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so in this parasha, there are very precise measurements in terms of cubits, which we these days typically understand to be about 18 inches, the length from a typical elbow to a typical fingertip, and so therefore 1.5 feet. And these measurements are specified in great specificity, actually, for all the different parts. And the portability is built into the design as well. Those poles, as we saw, the carrying poles are specified, that there have to be rings, and that the poles have to be in there all the time, so they don't have to be replaced in there when it's time to move and carry this whole structure. What's missing for me is the architectural principles, which presumably they might have known something about from Egyptian architecture, or any architecture that existed before this entire Exodus began. And so, there are architectural principles which could have been specified, but are not. There is no mention of the golden mean, for example, of the aspect ratio of various parts of a structure. And so, if as a mathematician, you try to discern, what is the reasoning behind all these very specific measurements, that's hard to do. But there is no doubt that you can reconstruct, as the video showed us, about what it looked like. And there are lots of squares and rectangles, but yeah, no, nothing very creative, but maybe practical.
Yeah. I was reading through the Torah Women's Commentary, and I think Carol Mayer commented on today's parasha in Jeremiah that this is impossible to have happened. Like this kind of details and the goal and everything that when it's impossible to have happened in that time, that this is, it depends on, how you look at it when the Torah was written. This is written later on and taking from examples of the Beit Midrash, the Beit HaMikdash, like the temple in Jerusalem, the first and probably second. Like that's where we get, this idea of the gold and the furnishing and the linen and all the colors, the blue and purple and everything that she just couldn't comprehend that this is something that people were in the desert who were coming from slavery, that this was a whole project that was possible. But which is a different issue. Also, we can concentrate on the details of if it was possible or not, but also like, what does this represent? I think that's also most of our Torah, that what does this represent for them and for us? What are they yearning for? What are they trying to create or present right here? Yes.
And the Haftarah, by the way, is similar from Kings 1.
Yes.
The specifications for the actual temple that Solomon
Yes.
built. Yes.
Yes. So the Haftarah for today is from Kings 1, and it's speaking about King Solomon. Well, it's reminding us that King Solomon is a very wise man, and we see his wisdom here by he creates a treaty, a peace treaty with one of the kings, I think Hiram from Tyre, and together they're going to be unstoppable, and they're going to have this world trade coming in, and of course that's how he's going to access all the materials to build the temple. And although in the Haftarah it's not listing all what is required to build a temple, it's listing the number of people who are working on the temple. 70 people working on this, 80,000 people working on quarrying and stone, and the prohibitions of do not use the hammer or the axe. And so it's like, it's the same project, but kind of different. And I don't know, because here at the beginning of the Torah, we open up with people offering gifts, as their hearts are moved to build, everybody's willingly bringing. But in King Solomon's, kind of construction, we see that he acquires these people to build the temple. People acquired to build the temple. Yeah.
Ellen Taffine, from my trusted AI friend, the key characteristics: mobility, designed to be taken down, transported, and reassembled by the Levites during their 40-year desert journey. So there were probably times where they had to unassemble it due to weather or conditions, and then reassemble it again. They used what? They used well, they may have stopped during a sandstorm. Used expensive materials to create a beautiful, reverent place, like Shelley said. And it also represented a portable earthly dwelling for the divine.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the materials, like the gold, where'd they get the gold for the golden calf?
Well, we know that they got gold from Egypt. They borrowed from their neighbors. We know that
maybe they
have
had leftovers.
It's just a matter of distribution. Where do they place some of the gold? And yeah.
But the Torah is very limited on description and is very terse with words. It allows you to imagine things of different possibilities using your own thought system.
Yes, which is how
Which
we have the Talmud and the Midrash and all these, we've developed to fill in the stories and the gaps and to kind of find a connection between a section that appears in this Torah portion with a section that appears somewhere else and kind of come up with
So is
the
it
relevance.
Specific numbers? I don't know if it's important to know specific numbers as it is to use your mind to create the place and the people at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
I agree. Thank you. Carol, Dalia, and then I'm going to go online on Zoom.
I guess it was about 10 years plus ago that we went on a trip to Israel with the Beth Am community. And we actually went to, I think it's called Teman Park, where they have a replica built And it is an experience to walk through it and see it and feel it. I mean, it's a replica, and like Ellen mentioned, that you need to use your imagination. And Josh said that he didn't feel there was much creativity, but the cherubs on top of the are very creative. And so it was an interesting experience to see it, the size and such.
Yeah. Talia.
Shabbat Shalom, this is Dalia. In response to Shelley's comment, what she made me think is, number one, when we think about slavery, we should be very, very careful not to cut and paste the slavery experience in America to what our forefathers experienced in Egypt. Actually, for almost 400 years, they live in luxury. They multiplied, they settled down, they had very good life until there is a new pharaoh. They said, who is these people? And start to oppress them. So we cannot assume they did not have high culture. We cannot assume that they were poor. They probably had a lot of gold. Actually, what comes to my mind is Germany, where people, Jewish people, were very settled in the culture. And then one day, they were stripped of everything. So it is more like that than like for 400 years, they were working in the cotton field. I want to add one more thing that is not relating to your shiur, but it is not much talked about in Reform congregation. And that is to know that all the Shabbat restrictions come from here. Because the building of the Mishkan is the prototype of what is considered to be work. And from this, Chachamenu, our sages, concluded, so there are the principal ones, and then what derive of it, and what derive of it, and it's a whole new study, but we should know that it's anchored in this building of the Mishkan.
Yeah, and there's a strong warning within this project. Well, the Mishkan, the building, takes up a couple of Torah portions going forward.
Right.
We are only interrupted by this, again, another narrative of the golden calf, which our commentators think that came before this, the Mishkan. But there's prohibition. There's like, you need to stop for Shabbat as well. Like that's
Yes.
It's very central to this exciting project as well.
Can I say one thing regarding what Naomi said?
Yeah,
For
quickly,
me,
and then we'll move on.
For me, it really makes sense that the Mishkan, the Holy of Holy, was very small. It is not a gathering place. It's not a witnessing place. Only once a year, maybe the Kohen Gadol, and there are many, many, many restrictions, will come for a moment, and he will not even be in his right mind. He probably was dragged from all the essence and all the ritual. The purpose of the Mishkan is like a pinning that God is present in the community. That's all that it needs to do. So that's why it's so small. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, and it's articulated that the Mishkan is for God to dwell among the people. Well, there's a specific place, of course, but you can see in terms of like how people encamp, they surround the dwelling place. And later on, we'll see as they move, there's, of course, the cloud above that is supposed to show people that they can move or not in terms of like if there's a danger when they move. If it lifts up, then they move. They lift the Mishkan and move. And so there's like this really, really physical kind of like felt presence of God with the Mishkan and everything going around. I'm going to go to David, Elaine, and then Ruth.
Thank you, Rabbi. Morning.
And then Rena, sorry.
Good morning, good Shabbos, David Gaskill. So the first thing that occurs to me is
David, can you maybe move closer to the mic a little bit? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. First thing that occurs to me is what is the purpose of the Mishkan? Okay. What does it do? We know it's too small for any huge number of people to get in there, and we have what? the 6 million people are supposed to be in this encampment, which, by the way, what's the encampment? The encampment is the Mishkan and everything else around it, all the other tribes around it. Okay, so let's say that perhaps, as some say, this parsha is misplaced, and it actually occurs after the golden calf instead of the golden calf after it in the text that we have. Maybe, okay, but let's look at this. So during the whole time that people are in the desert, right at the beginning, there's nothing but complaining, and rebellion, and dissension, and these people are they're acting like a mob, not like any kind of a unity, as it were. So Rabbi Jonathan Sachs says during the whole time the tabernacle was being constructed, there were no complaints, no rebellions, no dissension. Signs and wonders had failed to do, the construction of the tabernacle succeeded in doing. It transformed the people into a cohesive group, gave them a sense of responsibility and an identity. In this context, we see the story of the tabernacle was the essential element in the birth of a nation. And then he goes on to say, no wonder it occupies 1/3 of the entire, book. Anyway,
so it's some.
And the tabernacle did not last, but the lesson it taught did. It's not what God does for us that transforms us, but what we do for God. A free society is best symbolized by the tabernacle because it's the home we build together. It's only by becoming builders that we in turn become subjects. We move from being subjects to citizens. We have to earn our freedom by what we give. It cannot be given to us as an unearned gift. Okay? And on the spiritual side of this is that what is it in the tabernacle that is the element that makes it dwell within us. Okay, and it's Rabbi Arthur Green had a beautiful story about the construction of the of the cherubim, which Rashi says had to be hammered out of one chunk of gold. Okay, so you had these two opposing golden cherubim on the top, and they represent the love of men and women, who form couples and families together. And it's teaching us what we are supposed to be like. But we're supposed to carry this in our hearts. It wasn't meant to be carried around forever in its physical form.
Thank you. I like that the Mishkan was temporary, but the lesson of it is what we carry on, and even up today. And like this was their first communal project that the Israelites really all agreed on and all worked on together to build. This was something that brought them together. I'm going to go really quickly, Elaine, and then Sandy.
Shabbat Shalom. I was thinking about this, to continue with what David is saying, the relationship between God and people, because in the beginning in the Garden of Eden, you didn't need God was there. You could communicate with God. God could communicate with you. And then, I'm thinking about at Mount Sinai, where it's too much to be that close to God. So that didn't work. And then this idea of building a temple. And it's interesting because this whole discussion, like in the beginning, if I thought about the temple, I thought it would be a place of worship. But a fancy place is not necessarily where you can go within. You would capture the attention of a person because it's so beautiful, but that's your attention is outside, not going inside. So the idea of presence of God being carried with you I think is very different than being a place where would be conducive to prayer and going within. So I think there's a real interesting thing, because now I'm thinking, well, it's more to know that God is among you, but that doesn't necessarily mean to me anything about prayer and about going within. So it's two different functions.
Yeah, that I think one of the important things here is like the people actively doing this. First of all, they're bringing the offering, but also Asuli, Mikdash, for me, they're making. So they're making themselves available. They're making themselves, they're kind of doing something about this yearning for God to be among them, or for community or something. So I think it's going to expand later on, of course, to prayer.
Right. And if I,
But
yeah,
it's an active thing that they're doing.
yeah, just to add, it also means they have skin in the game.
Yes.
You know, that they become part of it.
4 quick points. The idea that the Israelites, probably in Egypt, remember they built things. So as slaves, a lot of them were probably trained. And I forget the name of the artist or who God tells Moses something that starts with a B. So you have a supervisor that knows what he's doing, and you have the worker bees. So to me, it's no problem if they actually, even though they were slaves, they knew how to work. And I forget who said it, but like David about them kvetching. Remember, busy hands or idle minds, the devil's workshop or something. And I don't think, I mean, it wasn't like everybody was allowed in there. I think only the priest. And I think of also in Rome, when they show the arch where they show that here they actually were carrying, besides the menorah, they were carrying the uh I don't think it was the whole Mishkan, but whatever the God box, shall we say. That's all.
I like that, the God box. Ariel, and then we can move on a little bit to some of the other.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. I think from all this, from all the descriptions and all there's one sentence in number 16 that says, "V'natata el Aaron et ha'edut." God says, I'm going to give you this testimony you're going to put in there.
Mm.
And it's only one little sentence in the middle before it's describing all the things, or in the middle of describing it. What is the testimony?
So the testimony is the Brit, it is the 10 Commandments. And I think this is where they get the beautiful idea that what is deposited in there in the ark is both the broken and also the whole, commandments that Moses is receiving now. And so that gets you the beautiful idea that everything is in that Aaron. So the Aaron also is, of course, Aaron HaKodesh that we have where we deposit our Torahs. It's also the kind of where we put people when they are dead. It's like the where we bury people, and it's kind of like this place where we deposit memories, where we deposit like information, where we deposit the commandments and the Torah. So it's a very interesting conversation. But right now Moses is on the top of Mount Sinai again with God, and God is like, all these instructions and that I give you will deposit into this ark and this Aaron.
Can I say one more tiny thing? I'm sitting here and I'm facing the beautiful glass windows behind you.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking, what makes a Mishkan? What makes the place feel holy? And it looks like there's lightning. It looks like there's gold drops on it, and just very beautiful. So
thank you. That's always a really important question. What makes a Mishkan, or what makes, even up to right now, what makes a place feel like there's a presence of God in that place? And is it the place? Is it us in that moment? We've all visited amazing synagogues, including churches that when you enter, you see, you look around and all this. But do you feel the presence of God, or do we feel the presence of God when we are in our sanctuary here, which is not that, kind of elaborate and everything? I'm reminded of the story. I think it comes from maybe Lithuania. I think it's a rabbi, I can't remember the name, who is like really opposed, is more intellectual and is opposed to Kabbalah. and Kabbalistic teaching, but he has a son who goes to a study with a Kabbalistic rabbi. And so he follows the son and say, why are you here? And the son says, something about, finding God or something like that. I need to find that story because it's a really nice story. And then he says, isn't God everywhere? And the son says, yes, God is everywhere, but I am not. I am not everywhere. Right now I'm in this exact place, and this is where I feel, the presence of God. Yeah, Jeff.
Rabbi Jeff Berman, when we've studied this in the past, sometimes I've thought, why do we need all this gold and silver to pray? You can pray nicely and like our sanctuary, quietly, or in Shabbat, some of them have just one room in their house, and you can pray. You don't need all this gold and silver. And one of the thoughts that came back in the past was this is a reflection of the Pharaoh and his God and how he lived. And that's what the Jews were used to, so that you treated your God this way, because you certainly don't need all this stuff to pray and communicate to God.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think we can see that from now. We don't have God around us to pray. But I think this is not a place for prayer, as I have. There's a microphone behind you.
Harv Citron. The first thing that bothers me here is, what does it mean that God dwells among you? Is it really some entity that is enveloped by this structure? Or is it really a place where each individual can focus their thinking and become one with other people? The other thing is, in building a Mishkan, it's really basically a system of enforcing a hierarchy. Like there's the people, there's the holier people, there's the priests, there's the bishop, there's the pope, just like the Catholic Church, with a central building that somehow or other is supposed to be more holy than other buildings. And to me, the Mishkan is no different than the golden calf. It's a symbol that the people want to be able to gather around a thought that there is a God, and and this is the way they can focus together on the belief in the God. Now, whether that's a golden calf or a redwood tree or a monastery or any other place that's considered holy, it doesn't make any difference. They're all the same.
I think what makes a difference here is what the people think is holy and what people think it's not. So you're right, these two things that are constructed with all almost the same materials, the golden calf and the Mishkan, are both a way that people are yearning for God's presence. And I think even around the golden calf is expressed more. We want something tangible. We want a God we can see who is here with us. And so they're building. And so the other difference is that this is coming from God, who wants to be among the people. Which it doesn't, I don't know if that makes a difference at all. There are two different kind of projects that the Israelites are embarking on, but the question is this for God or is this for the people? That's I think that if it's really the people who want a place like this and a place to feel God's presence.
I would guess that it's very apparent that in my mind it's always for the people.
Yeah.
And if they have a concept of God, so be it. But whether God is an entity that actually exists is something nobody knows.
And you would argue we are doing That's the beauty about it, that this is thousands of years ago, and we are doing the same thing right now.
Yeah.
We've always, always looking, always finding. We have a synagogue, we gather, we all try to
Well, there's many
figure out a relationship to something.
mysteries that mankind has not been able to solve and figure out. So the conclusion seems to always be that there must be something else.
There's always something else. I think that's the beauty of life.
One of the things
There's always something better. I'm going, yeah.
has not been able to be explained to me is what is the human mind all about?
Mm.
When you try to think of a word or a concept or a thing and bring it to mind, what does that really mean? What is the incantation that starts the mind working and brings it out in your voice or in your art or something else?
I think that those mysteries are the ones that we are all trying to kind of grapple with. Steve, I see a hand behind.
Yes.
Oh, you have.
Shabbat Shalom, Steve Bauman. Yeah, this whole time I've been thinking of the tremendous paradox of the Mishkan. The Mishkan and tabernacle is, and so I shall dwell among you. Well, if God is dwelling among us, then she is very accessible to us all, and yet God is inaccessible. And in Job, of course, there's a whole, if you will, almost other theology about the question of what's accessible and what's not. And then to me, it speaks to the very paradox of that Harf was putting his finger on, that we can't understand the complete inestimable, the impossibility of understanding this infinite, and yet that infinite who dwells or it dwells among us, or we dwell among it. It's that paradox, I think, that is at this very center of this, because human beings need a place to say, where do I go to worship? Where do I, not how do I live, but where do I go to worship? We want an easy answer to a very, very impossible problem, which is, what is the meaning of it all, and how do we focus our meaning? So they came up with this great idea. Let's worship through this symbol. And then you end up with this almost impossibility of the only people who could get access to this place that dwells among us are in the Holy of Holies is the high priest once a year, who got access to it and had to have a rope tied around him because this access could be very dangerous, and yet that priest was representing us all. He wasn't the priest as in the Catholic Church, the Pope, the one who tells us everything to do and we listen. That priest was really representing us all. So it's that paradox. It's built into, first of all, it comes from life, but it's built into that whole idea of what's the Mishkan and where is God?
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so we always sing this song, "Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary." It's a 2000, and we can say, but I think that like that, there's a lot of commentary about what does it mean, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. It's coming from God. It's asking for us, the Israelites, to make a sanctuary so that God can dwell among us. This song, of course, interprets as, it says, "Lord, prepare me." So it's saying that we are asking God to prepare us to be a sanctuary, which is which is a kind of a, kind of commentary of dwelling among us. That's like we are the sanctuary and God is going to dwell amongst us. And we say this as we prepare to say we've adapted it around saying the Amidah when we prepare to, to have the intention to say the prayer that we ask God to be a sanctuary. I'm going to read a little bit of how is holiness organized. Rabbi Joshua Heschel. The mystical mind would expect that after heaven and earth have been established, God would create a holy place, a holy mountain or a holy spring, whereupon a sanctuary to be established. Yet it seems as if the Bible, it is holiness. To the Bible, it is holiness of time. So of course, Rabbi Heschel always thinks, it says time is the first thing that is holy for us. Like the sanctity of time is what is more holy. The Sabbath, which comes first. When history began, there were only one holiness in the world, holiness of time. And we can see that from creation. When at Sinai, the word of God was about to be voiced, a call of holiness in man was proclaimed. You shall be holy unto you. So this is, we're grappling with the idea, what does it mean to be holy? Is it time? Is it us? And also, so the sanctity of time came first, the sanctity of man. So we are also sanctified to be holy because we have to be holy because God is holy. We have to be holy like God. And the third one is the space. So that we have to have so if we, time is holy, we are holy. We have to have a space. We have to create a space that is holy. And I think when we talk about yearning and grappling with, we think about this space, but we also think about the people that we are in that space together with, the people that, gather themselves and have this kind of collective thinking of being in this place and of holiness. I will read about Ambato, who was an Italian rabbi. I think he was part of Kabbalah. He was in Florence. He was the chief rabbi in Florence, and later taught at the University of Florence, and I think University of Rome later on. That was what I read. In order to understand the significance and purpose of the tabernacle, we must realize that the children of Israel, after they had been privileged to witness the revelation at Mount Sinai, were about to journey from there and thus draw away from the site. So they had this place where they got the revelation and all these things, and they experienced God in a different way. Now they are about to move, but so where is the reminder going to come from of holiness, of the place of their relationship with God? And he's saying that this is what the Mishkan comes for them as a reminder, a continuation of Sinai as well. Martin Buber says, where is the dwelling place of God? This was a question with which Rabbi Mendel of Kotsk, thank you, surprised the number of land people who happened to be visiting him. They laughed at him. What a thing to ask. Is it not the whole world full of God's glory? Then he answered his own question. God dwells wherever we let God in, which I found to be very, very meaningful. Whatever we decide, whatever we let God in, then God is there. It's going to come from us. I want to read this last one before I take any comments, and we're also on time. On the airplane, this comes from a New York Times article examining the growth of the spiritual but not religious. On airplanes, Reverend Lillian Daniel wrote in 2011, I dread a conversation with the person who finds out I am a minister and wants to use the flight time to explain to me that he is spiritual but not religious. Such a person will always share this as if it is some kind of daring insight unique to him, bold in its rebellion against religious status quo. Before you know it, he's telling me that he finds God in the sunset. In the book, Rev Daniel, a Congregationalist preacher who is a pastor at a church near Chicago, argues that spirituality fits too snugly with the complacence, even hedonism. After all, who does not like to walk in nature? So, who doesn't like sunsets or sunrise? Whereas religion is better at challenging people to face death, fight poverty, oppose injustice. Religion, by bringing people together in a community, at regular intervals, facilitates an ongoing conversation about matters outside itself, outside of religion itself. I saw some hands, and if, we are on the top of the hour, but we will take 1 minute. Dalia.
Thank you. When the conversation starts to veer into a subjective experience of God, it always brings me back to the fact that in Judaism, that's not where the conversation stops. Our experience of God is not just subjective, it's just not just feeling, it's really being part of an of peoplehood. And that's why we need the Mishkan. And by the way, the edut that Uriela was asking about is the only physical manifestation of God's hand that we were given the opportunity to keep forever, whatever that means, the forever, but permanent. So that's pretty amazing. And back to some thoughts that Herb liked to share, the Mishkan is a focal point. When we left Egypt, we left it as tribes. So this is, and then when we conquered the country, we did it as tribes. So how are 12 tribes make one people? And that's why we need the Mishkan. And throughout those early time in the Bible, like in Shoftim and Shmuel and Melachim, all those early kingdom, there is the tension between, are we centralized nation or are we 12 tribes? So it's kind of oscillate, but the idea that we are one is starting here. We need a physical point, and it is one.
I wish it had continued a little bit more, because we see that the tribes go on in Israel. In fact, the only mention that we are one people is in diaspora, in Esther, in the book of Esther, that it calls us, Yehudim, Jews, as of referring to, all of the Jews that are living outside of Israel.
Yes, but theologically, that's where it starts, right here in the Mishkan, that we have oneness.
Yeah, I like that idea. And that this project brings people to imagine, being together. I'm going to go with Barbara, since you didn't say, you haven't spoken to, say one word, so we can go before we finish.
Thank you, Rabbi. Just one word is that I'm reminded of Rabbi Nemitov's sermon last night, in which he really put a great emphasis on being with nature, and the implication that being with nature is kind of indwelling with God. I thought it was quite beautiful.
Thank you. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We all recite our Lanas Kaddish together. Let the glory of God be extolled. Let God's great name be hallowed in the world whose God shown God will. May God, his sovereign principle, prevail in our day, our lives, and the lives of all Israel. And let us say, Amen. Let God, his great name, be blessed forever and ever. Let the name of the Holy One of blessing be glorified, exalted, honored, and God beyond praise, songs, and admirations that we utter. And let us say, Amen. God of heaven and earth, grant abundant peace to our people and their leaders, to their teachers and their disciples, and to all who engage in the study of Torah here and everywhere. Let there be for them and for all of us grace, love, and compassion, a joyful life, and a hope of your sovereignty. And let us say, Amen. For us, for all Israel, and for all humanity, may the blessing of peace and the promise of life come true. And let us say, Amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us, on Israel, on all the world. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.